Having a good foundation is important in anything you're building. In this video, we're going to discuss what knives form a good foundation for a knife collection. Let's go find out. Welcome back to Blade Insider. On this channel, we talk about all things knives. Today, we're here to talk about what knives make a good foundation for any knife collection. To illustrate my point, I borrowed my wife's Lego castle. Now this elaborate castle is built upon a foundation of bricks. If that foundation isn't strong, then the castle will just crumble to the ground. It's the same thing with knife collection. You don't start your knife collection with a couple of gas station knives. You want to start your collection with knives that are both collectible and important in the history of pocket knives. In this video, we'll discuss 3 of these examples. These aren't my favorite knives, and truth be told, I don't carry them on a day-to-day basis. In fact, I hardly carry them, but I did carry them at one point, and I did focus my collection early on these traditional knives. So the obvious question here are, why are they foundational knives? Well, they hold an important place in the history of knife collection and the history of carrying pocket knives. Now these are my opinions, and your opinions may be different from mine. I'd love to hear your comments in the section below. After reviewing this video, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for new weekly content. When we talk about foundational knives, we have to talk about the differences between traditional knives and modern day folders. Traditional knives have thinner, hollow grind blades. They have scales that are bone stag and come in a variety of different colors, and they usually have bolsters on them and are slip joints. Also, they typically have more than one blade on them. With modern day folders, typically they're bigger. You can open them with one hand. They come in a variety of different knife steels, and they usually have a pocket clip on them. With traditional knives, these are the knives that your grandfather and father used. So when getting your first knife, you got it from either your father or grandfather, and typically it was a traditional knife. Traditional knives clearly have several advantages over modern day folders. I think they're more collectible, they're more attractive, and come in a different variety of colors and shapes, and they're smaller and fit better in your pocket. That's why I feel it's important to start your collection with traditional knives. As I said earlier, you have to know where you've been in order to get to where you're going. With my knife collection, I started with these traditional knives, and over time I evolved in collecting primarily modern day folders. But it was important for me to experience that traditional knife in order to know what I liked and didn't like. Now again, this video is about foundational knives. And again, we're going to talk about the 3 knives that are traditional that I feel should form the core of any good knife collection. They include the Buck 110, the Case Medium Stockman, and the Opinel No. 8. Let's go to the bench and take a closer look at these knives. Case knives are what you typically think of when talking about a traditional folder. The knife here in front of you is a Case Medium Stockman. Now the Stockmans are double-ended, serpentine-shaped knives designed originally for castrating animals and general farm chores. Now Stockmans generally have 3 blades. Now looking this knife over, the blades are what Case calls true sharp surgical steel. There's brass pins and brass liner. We have navy bone stag with nickel silver bolsters and a red oval case shield. Case refers to its steel as true sharp surgical steel. In reality, it's common 420 HC steel. Now, when we compare 420 HC steel to S30V steel, we see that the 420 ranks an 8 on ease of sharpening, 4 on edge retention, 5 on toughness, and 8 on corrosion resistance on a 10 scale. Compared to the S30V, which ranks a 5 on ease of sharpening, 8 on edge retention, 5 on toughness, and 7 on corrosion resistance. The Rockwell hardness of Case's true sharp surgical steel usually ranks between a 55 and 57. Now looking at the blades themselves, the clip point blade is 2 5/8 inches, the sheep's foot blade is 1 7/8, and the spay blade is 1 3/4 inches. Blade thickness is 1/16 of an inch, blade width is 3/8 of an inch, and the knife closed is 3 5/8 inch. The Opinel No. 8 carbon steel pocket knife is the knife that started it all. Joseph Opinel first designed and patented this knife back in 1890. Originally, he distributed the knife as a knife for farmers and train conductors, keeping the knife simply designed and affordable. The Opinel No. 8 is made in France. Each knife in the main Opinel line is given a number that is the approximate length of the blade in centimeters. The No. 8 has been historically the most popular size. The No. 8 is comprised of 5 pieces. First, we have the beechwood handle, the blade, a steel collar around the top of the handle, a pivot that runs through the handle and the blade, and then this Virolock sleeve. The Virolock allows it to slide over and act as a locking mechanism, preventing the blade from coming down on your fingers. Now you get a little blade play with this knife, so it's not for heavy use, but it's a great picnic knife. The blade length is 3 3/16 inch. The handle is 4 3/8 inch, and the overall length is 7 5/8 inch. It weighs just 1.6 ounces, making it one of the lightest knives in my collection. The blade steel is XC90 steel. I think that's comparable to 1095 carbon steel. It's durable, but can easily rust. It also sharpens very easily as well. Now when we compare this blade steel to a more premium blade steel such as S30V, we find that the 1095 ranks a 7 for ease of sharpening, a 5 out of 10 for edge retention, a 7 on toughness, and a 2 for corrosion resistance. Comparing that to the S30V steel, which ranks a 5 out of 10 for ease of sharpening, an 8 for edge retention, a 5 for toughness, and a 7 for corrosion resistance. Finally, let's take a look at the Buck 110. This is a semi-hollow ground blade with a clip point shape and manufactured from 420 HC stainless steel, which has a high carbon content that improves its corrosion resistance. Buck applies an impressive heat treat to this knife, bringing out the hardness in the steel. The blade shape is really best suited for hunting and skinning, and that was the clear intention that this knife was originally designed for. The knife was designed back in 1963. It has Buck's patented rear locking mechanism that many knives utilize today. Buck was really the first company to produce this lockback mechanism that works so well. Any knife collector will tell you that Buck's rear lockback mechanism is a very strong lockup, that you don't have to worry about the blade coming down on you. Let's take a closer look at the knife. Again, we have the 420HC blade steel and the clip point blade. We have the brass bolsters, brass pins, and a nice wood scale. If you notice, the fit and finish of this knife is just fantastic. The handles are chamfered. There are no hot spots on this knife whatsoever. And that handle comes right out of my hand. It's a big knife, and it's a heavy knife. It's a very solid knife. The blade steel that Buck uses is 420HC steel. It's easier to sharpen than S30V, but it doesn't hold its edge as long. It's the same toughness as S30V steel and is slightly more corrosion resistant than S30V steel. Notably, Buck's heat treatment is the best in the industry when using this 420HC steel. As we said earlier, Case's 420HC steel will rank in a Rockwell hardness test between 55 and 57. Buck will typically get a 58 in the Rockwell scale hardness test. Let's take a look at some specifications of this knife. The blade length is 3.75 inches and the overall length is 8.75 inches. When closed, it's 4.875 inches and weighs a hefty 7.2 ounces. Now Buck makes these in the United States and you can get them for about 44 bucks. When you add the leather sheath to it, it'll add another $14 or $15 to the price tag. These traditional folders were used by your grandfather and father and probably handed down to you. They form a strong core of any good knife collection. A lot of people still prefer these knives, and they are still very popular. The reason for this are many, but I think it all boils down to they still work, and they work really well. Now, in my knife collection, I've kind of migrated to modern day folders. I found that I like the modern day steels better, and I like the fact that you can open the knife with one hand. The one thing I hate about traditional folders is the nail nicks and using two hands to open them. Some of my traditional folders are a bear to open. I don't want to struggle when I'm trying to open up a knife. Now, these are my opinions, and your opinions may be different, or you may agree with me. I'd love to hear your comments in the section below. And please, hit the like button if you like this video, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.